Hello, welcome. Thank you for staying with us on your Sunday evening while you get ready for the work week ahead or squeeze in that final bit of Sunday relaxation. We'll be in your homes every weekend from now until the end of silly season. I'm Jabari Fraser. This is The Current Affair. Remember, you can send us your comments and suggestions on Twitter at TV6TNT or at Jabari Fraser. Don't forget to use the hashtag A Current Affair. Give us some feedback on Facebook too, at CCN TV News. That's the name of our page. This evening, we are talking social media and trying to analyze the impact it's going to have on the general elections this year, although we don't know when they might be. In the Prime Minister's back pocket, her purse, maybe even nestled in her petticoat. This is the first general election that social media has been such a prominent consideration. Indeed, it has been factoring in regional election campaigns, prominently so in St. Kitts and Nevis recently. On the set this evening are Andrew Manswell and Roger Dwarka. Andrew is the webmaster here at CCN TV News, TV6, and Roger is a journalist at C News. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. We want to get straight into it. Andrew, what sort of Facebook and Twitter usage is there in Trinidad and Tobago? If you can put some sort of number of posts on that.
Well, it's definitely high. I mean, clearly anyone that has a Facebook account would be able to see the impact that social media has had on our thinking in terms of us getting our news updates, especially for the politics side of things or the political side of things. Politicians now more than ever are reaching out to their fan base then or to their electorate to get their message out to the masses.
Mm-hmm. Roger, what do you think, what sort of impact do you think that social media, specifically Facebook and Twitter, can have on political campaigns?
Well, it has to be said, Jabari, if we use the example of, as you said, in St. Kitts most recently, and, for example, British elections as well, and over here as well, you find that a lot of people are turning to, a lot of political parties rather, turning towards social media as a way of getting their messages out. You're using Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, but you asked me to focus on Facebook and Twitter, which of course are the two most popular ones. And I don't know whether you would have noticed, Andrew would have spotted this as well, that most of the political parties are sending sending out messages to users to like their page, to follow them. I mean, that's pretty much where we get quite a lot of our information as well as journalists, it has to be said. Breaking news as well, but equally so, it's working as a sort of an extra addition that doesn't cost that much as well, which is true, because, you know, political campaigns cost a lot of money. If you look at the, shall we say, the election machinery that's already been exposed in the last couple of weeks from two particular parties in particular, and we haven't seen the third one yet, but we will, I'm sure. I would say that it is an integral part. I mean, focusing on, for example, on British elections as well. We have David Cameron, who tweets a lot, Ed Miliband as well, Alex Salmon. They're all using it, and we've seen it most recently in the Scottish referendum as well.
Mm-hmm. Andrew,
yeah.
I want to ask you, do you think that social media can be a useful tool for people who have political aspirations, for them to break out onto the scene?
Trinidad is a little funny where it comes to that, but I could see it happening. I mean, I've seen examples in the States where a person who would have served in the Iraqi war, who all of a sudden wanted to become like a senator or to represent their district, and they will definitely get that message out saying, yes, I want to represent the district of, I don't know, whoever.
Virginia, something like
yeah,
that.
correct. Mm-hmm. Right, and they and I do believe that they do get that ground support. Mm-hmm. But here in Trinidad, it may be a little different, but I can't see it not happening. It can happen.
Which do you think is the most popular network for Trinidadians and to have your message spread to them?
By far, Facebook.
Okay, and do you think WhatsApp figures in anything at all? Do you think it could be a useful tool for political parties?
I could see it happening. I'm not sure, I mean, in terms of balancing the Facebook and WhatsApp, Facebook by far would outrank WhatsApp, but I could see that being an integral part, or I should say, it would help in some way to get the message out. You could create groups within the WhatsApp community and send direct messages to your voters out there.
Roger, very quickly, do you think that the news outlets have enough say online? Do you think that the websites are prominent enough, especially to share legitimate information as opposed to propaganda by the different parties?
I think it's twofold. Mance will obviously know much better than I about this, but I would say the websites in itself are quite excellent. Yours is very good, ours is very good, and colleagues over at CNC3 as well. Most people tend to turn there. We know for a fact in our station at CTV News that the majority of our viewers, shall we say, are online. And I would say in terms of putting information on there, I would look to make sure, and I know for a fact that we always make sure we try very hard to be very balanced and very careful, especially with political parties, because one has to. You don't want people to think that you're one way or the other.
One final question before we wrap up this segment. Andrew, do you think you've seen any noteworthy political campaigns or political apps? Are they solid technically? Are they user-friendly? Do you think they'd be enticing for people to keep going and checking them several times every day?
Well, I could tell you, last year I would have downloaded a few of the political apps, and I don't know if you want me to name.
Yeah,
yes or no?
sure, go ahead.
All right, okay. All right, so I would have downloaded the PNM app and the UNC app, and from well, I guess real life example or real life scenario. When there's a UNC meeting, Monday night meeting, they send the messages out, so I get those messages on my phone. I haven't seen that with the PNM app as yet, so meaning that the UNC is using push notification to get their information out there, but I haven't seen that, as I said, with the PNM.
Seems as if the PNM election machinery hasn't kicked in as yet. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being here.
Absolute pleasure.
We have
Thank
some
you.
exciting stuff coming up next. Stay tuned. This is A Current Affair. Welcome back. This is A Current Affair. On the set with me, I have Phillip Edward Alexander. You might know his name from Facebook, from all over, from radio shows, from columns, everywhere you can imagine. And we have Paul Daniel Nahous. He's a blogger. He has a blog called TriniWorldViews.com. They are both political bloggers, let's say that from the beginning. And we're trying to find out a bit about how they operate, about some of their political views, and why it gets so dirty online. Phillip, you call yourself a political and social activist.
Social and political.
Social and political
Social
activist. Sorry, excuse me.
No problem.
How do you do your work, essentially? Tell me a bit about what your page does.
Well, I mean, we have different groups. The Jericho Project is specific for our charity work, and that is a lot of the social work that we do is channeled through there. Politically, we control breaking news, which is one of the biggest groups on Facebook. It could be a lot bigger, but we have very strict rules about who could join. No fake profiles, no aliases, no companies. We want to make sure that anyone who's coming to have a conversation or debate, they're doing it with their real name. And you find that people tend to be a little more decent when they're not being allowed to hide behind anonymity.
So they use their voting names.
Birth certificate.
I get you. Paul, what does your website do?
Well, I focus on mainly political articles. Every now and then there'll be a social article, but it's really about taking apart current political issues and throwing some satire here and there just for entertainment purposes. But it's really about mostly dissecting current political issues going on in the country.
And this is something that you do as a hobby or something that you're very serious about?
Yeah, I'm very serious. Every week usually I release an article at most every 2 weeks. And it's a hobby. It was just a hobby up to, what, it's 2015 now. Maybe about 3 years I've been doing it or so. Actually, it was Phillip that gave me the idea to start. So why don't you put your stuff online or so?
So you all were friends in the beginning at first?
Yeah, always friends, man.
Okay, but you
Politics
fight online
aside.
though?
We fight online, outside of the internet. They must have a little bit of fighting.
Going to disagree on issues, I mean, that's the charged nature of politics. You look at people in the actual parliament who are friends today in either, I mean, Colm Imbert and Keith Rowley went to war with each other. Vasant Bharat was the last person to join.
Well, that's human nature in a sense.
But
happens.
Every part of it is mirrors the other. Politics is highly charged, a winner-take-all sort of mentality. So if you have a position, you want to sell your position.
And what is your position? We sometimes hear that you have, or it appears online that you have different positions all the time. For example, when Anil Roberts was in Parliament, you at one point supported him, then you were very much against him when the life sport thing emerged and so
No,
on.
that's not true. Anil and I have had a very stormy relationship. All through life, we grew up together. But it was my view that the Room 201 video wasn't sufficient, it wasn't enough to expel him from his role in government. I thought that was something that needed to be properly investigated before it goes any further. Live sport, the collapse of his role as responsibility for his ministry, that was a different thing. I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that there was a difference between supporting somebody if I think they're being wrongfully harassed and then going at them and dealing with the matter from a position. If you're doing something wrong, you're gonna have to answer for it.
Paul, is that your position as well? Do you think that all wrongdoing should be condemned? Is there any space for wiggle room also?
Of course, all wrongdoing should be condemned, no matter what party you're in, where you stand on the in the political spectrum. Right is right and wrong is wrong.
So your political views don't hamper your sense of integrity and morality?
Of course not. And I mean, I can tell you that inside the PNM, that there are people that, you know, will get upset over certain things I may say or may do, but I tell them already it's a matter of my morality, my integrity.
Exactly.
And
Jabari, that is the benefit of social media. Social media has given everybody an equal voice, and you're allowed now to speak truth to power. I was very supportive of the People's Partnership government and was the voice against the Prime Minister and the billboards, if you remember. Fuad Khan and I.
But that was one instance. I mean, several times you're very supportive of her, even when she seems to be needing to take some slack.
Well, you see, I may have the benefit of information that's not yet in the media or that the media is ignoring, so the public doesn't have it. And social media fills that gap.
Do you really believe that the media ignores genuine or correct, verifiable information? And by media, I mean traditional media.
Well, I mean, even that is being blurred, but you know and I know everybody has agendas. This is Trinidad.
I can tell you I don't have an agenda.
Jabari, everybody
I can tell you that.
Agendas.
I don't know about you, but as a journalist, I have to have no agenda.
But generally, I mean, I think we're going to come to a place soon where everyone, your bias is known. Like the word blogger. The only time I hear the word blogger is if someone's interviewing you and asks about that. Because that blogger, that word doesn't really exist in social media. In social media, what it is an opportunity to speak back to the screen, is an opportunity to speak back to the newspaper, to have your voice heard. Social media creates a space. Early this week here, there was an issue in Chagaramas that was dealt with between 5:30 and 8:30 on a morning. Before traditional media could deal with it, the next time that they have something that they can say, unless it's a breaking news story, is lunchtime news. If you understand what I'm trying to tell you. Social media creates a space where it can be discussed. By the time traditional media gets around to it, it's already debated. It's already understood. It's taken apart. The two boats today, the Spirit and the Express, social media was having discussions with people who were on the boats. It's real time.
Gentlemen, we have to go for a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have more talk with the bloggers. Philip doesn't like to be called a blogger, but anyway, we'll have more talk with the bloggers when we come back. So we're back. This is a current affair. Paul, tell me what gets you mad about these political bloggers or fellow political bloggers from opposing sides when, for example, what might Philip post that has got you mad in the past?
Well, okay, let me make a general comment before I get to Philip. What gets me really aggravated is probably when people are being just total sycophants, where the Prime Minister may do something, and no matter what she does, it's right because they're on a certain side, or it's wrong because they're on a certain side.
Is Philip one of those sycophants?
And recently, no, I can't say recently.
Recently?
Phillip is one of the people that exposes sycophants. I could never be called a sycophant.
I don't know where Phillip usually stands. He's all over.
My
So
politics has always been country first. I call out political leaders of all the parties. Regardless of where you stand, you have to understand. And I have a track record, and I could show I have millions of words that have been written on all of these issues. Every one of them, Prakash Ramada, Jack
Millions of
Warner.
words, but changing positions?
But you can't have one position on government because the government changes positions. You can't keep Rowley whining on a 17-year-old girl and then get vexed because a school teacher.
Are you making a mountain out of a molehill, really?
You know what?
I think I would address that.
But
But
tell us something. The school teacher who sent a letter to the 11-year-old girl was equally inappropriate, and that is fruit of the same.
oh, come on, man. I think that was a mountain out of a molehill for sure. It's carnival time. Someone came, a girl who was in a band, you would assume is of a certain age, came and took a wine on Dr. Rowley, and he was with other people that day. I think what I saw, and coming back to what you said before, something gets me aggravated. I saw a lot of hate coming out of seeing that picture, and a lot of it had to do with race. And when people use race in those kind of situations to justify an anger, that is what gets me angry.
I don't think so. I think PNM supporters are very, how to say this? I don't want to use the word hypocritical, but the same people who went at the First Lady for what was either her exposed midriff or a belt have no problem with the political leader, the leader of the opposition, whining on a 17-year-old
So
girl.
you're against personal attacks?
Absolutely.
What about personal attacks on investigative journalists, specifically Asha Javid, for example? Your
Asha,
attacks on her?
That is an issue that needs to be understood from the perspective of how much involved I was in that matter.
How explain yourself.
I can't without putting Asha's business in the road. The reality of the situation is...
But is it your business to put her business in the road? Is that your aim? Is that your objective?
when journalists or journalism gets into the political arena, then politics becomes the response. When you have situations that, and right now it should be matters that should be attracting the attention of the police,
But
that didn't.
private and public matters and a journalist's private matters, does that necessarily mix with politics?
No, because I take Asha Javid to task over something, and then other people take Asha Javid to task and post pictures of her, and you think that once everybody agrees, I agree with them. I don't.
What gets you mad about Paul and what he posts?
Yeah, I don't want to use the word mad because ultimately
What boils your political blood about what Paul posts?
I think that people like Paul need to be more open-minded. I hope after all of this, all the work that I do on social media, I hope it opens everybody to say, you know what, I support this government. I think Kamla Prasad-Bissess is a brilliant prime minister. I think Fuad Khan is wrong about the ambulances. I call him out. I think the prime minister is wrong about putting her face on billboards for Christmas, using state money for that. I said the minister of communication is wrong. I said the prime minister is wrong.
In your view, was that the only thing that, her only error over the last 4.5, 5 years?
I didn't think that was what this interview was about. If you want me to list the errors, I could go and bring and put them side by side.
You pointed out before.
I am a supporter of the government, and I come out against the government and speak against issues of the government that make front page. One of the ministers pulled me aside and said I was the one responsible for them pulling down the billboards and how much money it cost. That's not my concern. My concern was the position taken by the Minister of Communication was wrong to defend something that was wrong in itself, which was using state funds to put up the billboards. If you disagree with my position, that's up to you. But what I hope to do is get other people, regardless of who you support. If you support the PNM, support the PNM. But a 60-something-year-old man, married man, whining on a little girl is wrong. Because there's a video that shows it wasn't just a girl coming and take out. Exactly.
We've all seen the video and we've all seen the pictures. But I mean, you keep coming back to that
because you're
particular
supposed to say it's wrong.
Fine, if you say it's
If it was the Prime Minister, I would have been the first person out there to say it was wrong.
And what about the Prime Minister's responsibility, for example, in an issue like this Westgate thing, as people like to say, and you know the Prime Minister keeps on singling out David West and the opposition leader when she had a responsibility to make certain background checks and so on. Do you think she was wrong in that situation?
Let me answer the question. Because at that point in time, I was a communications advisor to the leader of the Congress of the People, Prakash Ramada. The article came out Sunday morning. By Sunday lunchtime, we knew that both Anna and Ramlogan and David West was going to say nothing. I was in the grocery, in the supermarket when we found that out. I called Prakash Ramadan on the phone.
Did you tell the political leader
I
at that
called
point
Prakash Ramadan
that he should make a statement
I called
saying that,
Prakash Ramadan
that Mr. Ramlogan should step down
to
until
say
then, until
that
an investigation
we
was completed?
cannot let this slide. It is because
And
of that
what was his
phone
response
call.
to that?
Phillip put it in place.
Woof, woof.
Phillip, no, that's not true. Phillip put it in place.
Woof, woof.
My next call was to Nicole Dyer Griffith. It is the Congress of the People that called an emergency meeting that day and the next day that put into a chain of events that resulted in Anna Ramlogan being fired.
And
Well, the Prime Minister said he resigned. She didn't say she fired him.
Whatever.
But Paul, you said you wanted to address that issue that
a
keeps
few-
on coming up. Can you put it to rest if you think it needs to be put to
A
rest?
few issues that were brought up. First of all, with Asha Javid's the whole thing that was going on with her and what happened in her private life. To me, that was private, and this is something that got me irritated with these in social media to see that they had certain ministers. Of course, I'm not going to call any name that have their paid blogging teams, as in they have positions as social media advisors or so, and they were the ones commissioned to go and put pictures of her half naked and to attack her because they realized that, all right, we're getting bad press from certain journalists, well, let's just rip down the journalists. And that is categorically wrong. Coming up to the issue with Dr. Rowley, someone was making a joke saying, well, Dr. Rowley should resign as leader of the PNM for being the type of leader that emulates his people. But the context of that was much different. It's on Carnival. Now it's something that I personally, if I was politically, I wouldn't do. But a lot of people took him up, took a wine on him.
But that right there, that made the point. That makes the point. Your personal integrity would tell you it was wrong.
I wouldn't say it was wrong.
But you wouldn't do it.
I'm not that type of person to go on Carnival Day and wine up on a set of people on the road. But I'm not to say he was in any kind of very lewd manner or
Jabari,
wrong with anything like that.
do you think the media fails at times in how it engages politically? Do you think Chandra Sharma and I can't remember his girlfriend name at the time, should have been the issue that it was?
If we strain from the issue
No, but the
here,
PNM people, Paul could talk about Asha Javid, but the PNM people that exposed Chandra Sharma and his personal life, Glenn Ramadasing and his personal life, all I'm saying to you is, all sides have it. The scholarship fund that was funding PNM abroad that became Speak Out TNT, that all its job is to attack and attack and attack.
But that's the same function that lots of blogs have. For example, people might feel that your purpose on Facebook is to attack and attack.
Come on, breaking news.
People feel that, for example, Alan Karim is just attacking and attacking.
Alan Karim, yes.
A lot of
that's one of those that,
yes.
that a lot of people.
Yeah, but there is a P.S. Robinson in the PNM and there's a Alan Karim in the UNC.
I wouldn't equate them to that. Alan is a totally different kind of monster.
Because you're speaking from
Gentlemen, the discussion is going very lively right now. We have to take a quick break. When we come back, we have Paul, Daniel Nahous, and Philip Alexander.
Look your MP, but wait, look your MP, wait, look your MP, look him there, looky there, don't let him get away. Look your MP, but wait, look your MP, but wait, look your MP, look him there, looky there, don't let him.
Welcome back to our current affair. Gentlemen, the discussion was getting a little heated just now. Paul, do you feel that some of these UNC bloggers get a bit too intense and dive too much into this racist talk too much?
It does, first of all, it does happen on both sides. And I'm disgusted either way. When you get into this kind of race talk, now races are
And do you condemn PNM followers who have similar racist posts?
Of course, I condemn any blogger who uses race to divide us rather than unite us. I would condemn anyone who makes a post like that. I have taken fellow PNM bloggers to task about that and tell them I don't support
And have you seen any change in their online behavior?
Well, they usually don't confront me after I tell them what I have to tell them. And whether they...
You tell them, you post these things on their walls?
Of course, if they want, I don't go behind the scenes and say, hey, I don't agree. Those are the type of people. Those are the type of people that if you tell them that, they're not going to take you on. But I think it's important to call them out in public to show that they are members of the PNM that condemn that. Otherwise, they'll just group everyone into one basket. Addressing what Phillip was saying earlier about me being I should be more open-minded. Right now, TrinityReviews.com has more than 6,000 people a month that read it, that subscribe to it and read it. And the way I built up that audience was by being open-minded enough to rationalize, and not in a sycophantical manner, but in a proper manner where I can rationalize what I see and express why I believe in what I believe in and why I think it's right or wrong. And people are open to disagree with me if they would like, and I never attack anyone for disagreeing with me. if someone just come and say, you're wrong, well, why am I wrong? And I'm genuinely interested in hearing them tell me and their opinions of why I am wrong. Addressing one of the last matters we touched on with the whole Westgate incident that is still ongoing. It's like this. The way I see it is that, all right, well, the former Attorney General was accused of perverting the course of justice, or so the former Minister Gary Griffith came forward and said, well, I was a witness, a voluntary witness, what you call a voluntary witness. I saw what happened, and David West was the one that, you know, if you want to say the victim in it. Imagine this. You walk down the road, you leave the studio, and Lord forbid you walk outside, someone comes and robs you. Then tomorrow morning, the police come by you, and people are calling on your robber to be jailed, as well as the person who reported the robbery going on, who saw it going on, the witness, and you. All three all have to be in a cell.
Philip, do you agree with that rationale?
But you see, if it was PNM people, Paul wouldn't get so in depth in it, and that's my problem, because I would. As a supporter of the government, I have called them out. In fact, when Gary Griffith was fired, I resigned as a communications advisor to the Ministry of National Security and the Ministry of Legal Affairs.
Did you resign from the CUP as well?
Yes, I did. I was one of the first people to leave.
Used to be a party at some point.
There was a time, you see, the PNM had come down to 34-2. And then they allowed Patrick Manning to have a seat just because 34-2 was not as embarrassing as 33-3. So even the Congress of the People has a relevance in the politics of Trinidad and Tobago.
You really believe so at this point?
At this point, every Trinidadian is relevant in the politics of Trinidad and Tobago.
So, Philip, do you think that you can have some sort of influence on the partnership's campaign, online campaign this year? Do you think that your role would be significant?
I hope to have an influence on everybody's. You see, we take Alan Karam to task with the UNC group, but he runs the UNC group, and everybody could come and post on the UNC group. You go on the PNM group, and you can't. They have their walls closed.
Which PNM group is that? Because there's PNM
all
groups.
The Balize groups.
They are PNM groups, just like they are UNC groups, that user-made, and they want, you know,
all of the official PNM groups, the walls are closed. And only they can say, and then you can comment on what they say.
Well, that's funny, because PNM does not have an official Facebook group. We have a Facebook page, but we don't have an official Facebook group.
But the point I'm trying to make, that you can manage the social media campaign for the partnership, maybe take Rodney Charles' job?
Rodney Charles does not understand social media.
And you do?
Absolutely. Rodney Charles doesn't understand social media. Tony Dial doesn't understand social media. Vassant Barrett doesn't understand social media. They've made a mess of social media.
Gentlemen,
you are the government.
Sorry to cut the talk. We've run out of time, literally run out of time. That's it for this week's version of A Current Affair. You can tune in for a bit of an extended online version at www.tv6tnt.com. These have been the men behind the screens and keyboards. Join us next week at 7:30 after the news on TV6, where opposing politicians surely make for strange bedfellows. This is A Current Affair. Good evening.